Have you checked the children? Your little mess
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Long days and pleasant nights, fellow travelers along the path of the beam. I am known on this level of the tower as Jaime and Fuego, and if you please, you join me here for a bit of palaver on a very special hail to Stephen King. And that's because I am joined by two of my favorite Deadly Desert in Arizona musical compadres. We have Ryan Zelmer and Jason Payne, who I've been acquainted with at this particular point for almost 8 years now, going way back in the Jaime and Fuego rock show, as I so just jokingly called it. But these dudes are here with me for, first and foremost, the new relaunch of the horror show, and just basically branching out and talking to other Stephen King fanatics, tower junkies, and fellow creatives on this show. Guys, it is a pleasure to be back here with you to have some discussion about, El Rey, as I so affectionately call him, but also, you guys have a new creative project, none other than this Boogeyman record that they so graciously gifted me a copy of.
Grandfather used to tell me stories and all the things he thought he knew. There's something calling from the other side, reaching out for me and you. I awake and wait for morning. What's a blind boy supposed to do? As it goes, the things you told me, one by one, they all came true. As time moves along, I find myself alone again, thinking of the words he said, lying there afraid in bed. So hard to comprehend, he's never coming back again. Nothing left to say for him. I cherish all the time we had.
Welcome to the horror show, obviously. You have had some discussion with me before, but it's great to have you guys back.
It's great to be here, man.
Thank you. Tell ya. So when Cy King came to prominence in, like the 70s and most definitely in the 80s when he was just firing on all cylinders, there was also a lot of musical stuff going on at the time. Most notably, Danzig with his early incarnation of the Misfits and King Diamond, Iron Maiden. And the cool connection with this record is the fact that I definitely see those influences on display constantly throughout this record. I've been a big fan of these dudes since Sanitation Squad. That's still the main project, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Ryan, I know you had said that these started out kind of initially with you just maybe a solo project and it morphed into something bigger.
It was something that I wanted to do with my brother, is kind of getting back to my roots as far as learning how to even play guitar. And so my brother and I, Eric, who plays drums on this record as well.
Camel Enamel, shout out.
Yeah, absolutely, who plays for Camel Enamel now. We got back together and, we kind of got back at it. And so it was nice to kind of go through these songs again, but in our way. And that's where it really kind of all began.
Always beckoning to me as if I'm his to call. Even if I manage sleep, I've got no rest at all. Whoa, 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 whoa. It's in my blood to question good in case of evil. All my answers now are riddled with his lies. I only want to help those ones out there who need me, but my gift is nothing but a nightmare inside this disguise.
And then with Jason, who we work with together, in the squad, we are songwriting partners for many years, who is also a beloved, person of, the dead and all these things dark.
Father of the faith.
There you are.
Absolutely, and so it was nice to put everything together.
Had the tracks been sitting around for a while? Was there like a lengthy gestation process?
It started with a song, like a stripped down kind of punk rock sort of song. It wasn't anything that we were doing at the time, but I sent it over to Jason. We would work on stuff together and email it back and forth. And we worked on it, and we were just like, we should continue with this. This is fun. And it was nice to do something that was fun and easygoing when it came to these sort of things. And so we just went into it, and I believe Jason said, it's like, we should make this into like a story.
That's the thing that really just impressed me so much about this, man, is the fact that, obviously one of the things that I dug about the squad material when I first discovered it was that it did feel conceptual. It did feel like there was world building going on, including the accompanying music video you guys filmed out there in domes or whatever they are, just outside of Casa Grande. Yeah, but it's most definitely amped up on this record, and that's something you contributed, right, Jason?
Yeah. So the first song he gave me, I just started off. I was like, "Oh, how do we go for kind of a Sixth Sense type of thing going on?" And then like after I did the first song, I was just kind of like, "There's opportunity here," and I began building from that. And he just kept sending me songs, and I really thought about the story a lot, and it developed, and I was pretty excited about it. So I was like, "Dude, this has to be a concept album." Like, originally it's like, "Oh, we want to do like a horror punk thing," But I was like, "No. This has to be like imagine if the Misfits were playing like King Diamond album, like Abigail as a whole." And
sprinkle in some Maiden kind of leads and stuff,
We can't deny Maiden, I guess
it's in our blood.
DNA. Yeah.
It's in our blood to fucking play. Oh, dude, I didn't mean.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. They actually allow us, just like with a PG-13 film, they allow us to have a couple of them sprinkled in as long as it's not referring to sex.
Well, I need to be a little more cautious because I want to have mine in the right spot if we only have a couple. So.
Yeah. But the thing is, and this is where everybody, like the Hail to Stephen King Ka-Tet, you will dig the story behind this, because this is a very plotted out like track listing about a gifted kid, this blind child, imparted all of these weird stories from his grandfather. Grandfather passes away before the album even technically starts, because the first song is Eulogy, and it's this really dope organs and kind of like, it feels like, just like a eulogizing sort of situation, and the lyrics throughout this take you through the journey of the constant, craziness that this person is dealing with as they start to realize their gifts, reacquainting with an old neighbor. There's even a song on here, Phantom, which is from the perspective of like an evil, otherworldly entity. So there is a narrative progress to this that I really, really appreciate.
I'm eating all your energy. I'm feeding on your life. And now I'll never set you free. What's your soul in mine? I am the chill in which they speak late at night when you're asleep. I am the noise within your home when you think you're all alone.
And as far as like gifted young kids go, that's Stephen King, in a T. Where else did you derive some inspiration for this? Like, where maybe did the title of the project Boogeyman come from? Because, Sai King also has a tale called Boogeyman. Where was... Really? Yeah, it's a short story of his, actually. How did you settle upon the name?
Ryan came up with that.
Okay.
I don't know. It's just something I liked. The juxtaposition. I wanted to write songs that were, I don't know, major key songs with dark imagery. And so... in some ways, I wanted to come across real dark, but also light.
Some say I'm crazy, yes, and some say I'm possessed. It's strange to me, you just can't see the blood upon this dress. When the night arrives, my heart decides to beat out of my chest. The endless stare, too much to bear. Won't someone please put this soul to rest?
Conceptually, there's also an element of the thing that's most fascinating for me about the blind child character is that he has never seen and is somehow afraid of the dark. So he doesn't know what dark is because he only lives in dark, but he somehow knows when it's dark around him, and he has this fear of it, and it's because he's able to sense these entities. So the boogeyman is kind of like that hidden figure going bump in the night, if you will.
Yeah, and essentially this character is having almost visions, so to speak, despite the fact that they can't see. So maybe the stuff that they have actually, been grasping and, just taking interest in, or just this unrelenting imagery is probably nothing very positive, unfortunately. I mean, it's all like darkness and sadness and just being plagued by these sort of just premonitions and everything. And musically, it's very interesting because of the fact that I said this before we started filming. I know you guys have like shredder chops, man. I mean, some of the squad material, like you guys solo like a mofo, and yet very, very interestingly enough, I felt like this was a deliberate departure as far as not being too flashy. It was more so like serving the songs, and yet the leads, when we get them, are memorable, as are the vocal hooks. I mean, very, very catchy, obviously. Was that a deliberate decision to kind of reel things back a little bit, as opposed to like lengthy extended solos?
Definitely, because at that point when we were writing the music, I wanted to do something different, and I wanted to kind of lean more into, I don't know, something a little more rock and roll, maybe a little something more blues based, a little more Chuck Berry when it came to this sort of thing. And that's part of the reason why we had Bob jump on the harmonica on that track as well.
Yeah.
You know, we wanted to do it like the legacy before us, but we wanted to do it our way as well, you know, and that's why I'm thrilled about the project and how it ended up turning out, is because we were able to do those sort of things, meld these sort of things. Because even with Jason and I, we're big fans of the old era, the Danzig era, and the Michael Graves era as well, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's like putting these sort of things together, you know, and some people appreciate it, some don't, but whatever.
Yeah, art is subjective though, you know, and there's some people who, like for me, I still remember when I first heard Static Age, and I was like, wow, this is the Misfits? Okay, because I'd only heard like, you know, Earth AD and like heavier, more hardcore stuff, but there is like in some of the earlier material, dare I say surf rockiness? I don't know. There's some tracks on this album, especially in the back half when we get to Candle, Talisman, Haunted. They feel more like that heaviness that I was used to from the Squad.
Yeah.
And as the floorboards break, I feel my body shake. The power held within it holds the key unto my fate. And when the lid is raised, I'm frozen in my gaze. The words in gold are beautiful, tell me, what do they say? The candle lasts 6 days. There isn't time to waste. I'll learn the words and everything I know I have to say. The candle lasts 6 days, and I won't be afraid. Without the talisman, it's such a wicked spell to break.
There's other songs like, you know, Afraid of the Dark and The Dead Are Here and Endless Stare, where I can tell you were going for a more accessible, like, you know, not as heavy sort of approach, I guess, you know, which I really appreciate.
Part of that also comes from the Squad is a riff-laden band.
Yes.
And so...
And the riffs are still good.
When you want to create something fresh, for like maybe not be a riff-laden band, just be a chord progression band type thing.
Melody driven.
And so
primarily.
it's just like songs, like simpler songs, like Ramones are a large influence as well.
I was about to say, I heard a little bit of that on here, but I didn't want to necessarily make that connection because I didn't know if you guys were fans of the Ramones or not, because there's some peeps who are just like a little up and down.
They're non-stop bop for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
There were those peaks and valleys because, you know, Morning Light starts out with that aggression, but then you kind of back off a little bit with Afraid of the Dark, and then, you know, Phantom is a banger, and then you kind of ease back up with, you know, Dead Are Here, and that's the most maideny song on here with those like no, those leads are sick, man. And I was a big fan of it. There's 2 songs of this that are already on YouTube. It's that song, The Dead Are Here, and then The Candle of 6 Days. And so those are the ones that you can get on the YouTube right now. But yeah, I was just impressed with the narrative, and you guys are actually expanding it a little bit further into like kind of a short story, I guess you could say. Do you want to give us a little info about that?
Sure. Yeah. No, we're you know, with this story that Jason has written here with all these songs, we're working with our buddy Ed, who is a writer, and he's kind of fleshed out the rest of it. And so it's been a real nice thing to do because we've kept this all within the family. We got our buddy Ed who does all this stuff. Joe, who has helped us produce and record this
Shout out,
album
obviously.
as well.
Yeah, we're here at Switchblade Sound. Joe's spot here in Tempe, Arizona.
And I wanted to keep it close. I wanted to keep it familial, you know, because that's how I learned the music originally with my brother, you know, and that's where, you know,
Truth be told,
my other
Ed
brother
Kearns
over here
makes
too.
me yearns. We all love Ed.
Sure, absolutely, you know, and the spin that he's put on it already and everything else, and we have the full thing, and we're working on that right now together. It's great.
I got to check out a sample single page of it, and it was fleshing out at least the onset of the narrative, because there's a funeral situation going down with the blind boy's grandfather, who actually passes along this knowledge of this devil's song, so to speak, and the power that it brings. And yet that was something that I was very just not so much conflicted, but curious about the fact that, like, is it a positive thing? Because you're trying to get these almost souls trapped in a sort of limbo to get them to the next phase, but I don't know. I was a little curious. I mean, do you want to reveal?
I don't know.
Or is that safe for the second album? Because I know they've said that there is already a planned continuation of this story, because Haunted does kind of leave you narrative-wise in a little bit of a cliffhanger situation without spoiling things. So
I think that he's doing positive work for people in the other realm, but as the lyrics say in the song, if I live to see the morning light,
it'll still have the lingering effects of the situation, you know. In like another King reference, there is the track on here called Talisman, and the obtaining of this talisman is crucial in being able to perform this like 6-day candle ritual sort of thing. There is deep lore. This is the sort of thing where I'm glad these guys, Ryan specifically, sent me the lyrics so that I can really follow along, because shout out to another El Rey, another King, King Diamond, and the fact that that's where, at least as far as the crafting of a narrative, I saw the like very obvious influence that intrigued me significantly, because it's not just, catchy, heavy music, for, fans of punk and, various other more like urgent and aggressive sort of music. There's stuff you can dive into as far as trying to figure out the puzzle of the story. And I don't know, it adds so much more to the experience for me when there is more going on than just catchy chord progressions and instrumentation.
Sure. Just let me out of here before I slip away. I can feel them creeping closer every single day. Down the cellar stairs, cobwebs seem to grow. I found my courage there, I lost a piece of my soul.
With this, we tried to, I don't know, at least capturing it musically, which, I mean, this is an impossible task, but I tried to include the family of like horror punk when it came to this sort of thing.
Show some reference.
Of course, there's not just the Misfits, but there's the AFI, and there's other things as well. There's like the Typo Negative, there's King Diamond, as you mentioned before. And so it's just like, I don't know, there's a certain reverence when it comes to these sort of things, and just trying to kind of tie it together, in our own way.
And like Stephen King is kind of like a huge part of that. There's so many bands that have most famous Anthrax and all that stuff. But there's others like Blind Guardian, Somewhere Far Beyond, and it's basically book 1 and 2 of the Dark Tower. It's a bunch of cool stuff, but I think like so many horror bands do Stephen King stuff.
Well, the huge grand universe is and it's like how deep do you go? Like even with like Wizard in Glass, and you start peering into the past a little bit, and like it's nice.
Yeah, and so for the King thing, any specific, book that was like your first encounter with Mr. El Rey, or like a film, or I think it's like either films or TV with most people when it boils down to it. But do you recall your first mutual experiences with El Rey, as I so affectionately call him?
I know that we talked about it, and you told me that you read the Dark Tower, and I was like, man, like I
wasn't the first though.
I mean, not for you, but
or maybe a favorite or but prolific
for me,
experience.
The Gunslinger was the first Stephen King book I actually read. So
Pet Cemetery for me was my first.
Stand.
Oh, wow.
Stand?
The uncut or the
Husky, dude.
I don't know. I was really young.
Okay.
It was like the first like adult book I read. It was an undertaking.
It's a monster.
And,
I listened to the audiobook
because it had like
during this whole pandemic
I
thing.
feel like
and I
the
was
show
like, why
was
did I
out.
do this?
Yeah, it's surreal, right?
Yeah.
So, but I think that TV miniseries was out at the same time when that was happening.
That miniseries is better than the new miniseries. That miniseries is awful.
I had
for me, because I had just finished the audiobook, and I have the extended thing, and I would look at it at times when
I still felt like the structuring was the biggest problem with that particular show. The fact that they kind of started in the middle of the story and then did those flashbacks, I wasn't the biggest fan.
A lot of the characters got shafted with like nobody felt as special as they did in the book to me.
Very little development in some cases, despite having 10 hours as opposed to the original was like 6 or 7, something like that. But
relied on more fireworks for good.
The book was just way better because it's a slow burn like the Lord of the Rings trilogy, like traveling across.
And he derived so much inspiration.
You got to take some time, even with the Dark Tower. It's like you kind of got to take your time into this a little bit here,
shining light. It's just the dawning of this godforsaken life. To live in peace, the only thing I ever wanted. Peace may never come, my life is haunted.
Okay, for those intending to give this a listen proper, destinations as far as like for digital obtaining or, you know, any other spot where they can actually go get properly acquainted with Boogeyman.
I would say go to BANDCAMP or Spotify. We'll have the whole album up here on YouTube as well, so you can come and hear the whole thing. If you like it, you know, pick it up, man. We're mailing it out ourselves. Otherwise, you know, put it out there, share with your friends, and we've been having a good time. We hope you do too.
And stay tuned for Chapter 2.
Coming soon.
Yeah.
Tales to the Izzle. All right, guys, that is going to do it here for this special installment of Hail to Stephen King. Here in the channel relaunch on The Horror Show, there's going to be more of crossover coverage of other people's creativity who are also fond of Cy King, but most importantly, you need to give both Boogeyman a listen and also the Sanitation Squad material. You can find them on the interwebs as well. It's some of my favorite stuff, not just here in Arizona. It was my favorite album, if I remember correctly, back in was it 14, 15, 16? God damn it, the years, they all are mushing together. Back when I was still a VJ.
I do remember that. I was like, I feel like, sorry. I feel like there was some pretty big band on there. I was like, sorry, dudes.
I was going to say.
Squad got Fuego's #1.
It beat out
Not Arch Enemy.
It beat out the Arch Enemy. They got the Gates record, the Haunted record, all my favorite shit. I have a lot of love for these guys and their creativity, man. So, yeah, that's gonna do it for today here from Switchblade Sound in Tempe, Arizona. And yes, excellent. Grande gracias. I've been Jaime Fuego. You can find me on all social media sectors like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Here on the YouTubies, where I do have my own personal channel in Fuegotainment, where I do some supplemental stuff to here on The Horror Show. Also, there is a new book of the month that is going to be announced very soon for here in the month of May, so look forward to that. And also check out the Hail to Stephen King Facebook group on the Face Bizzles. It's one of the few things that actually gets me on the fake book, and I have a lot of great, a lot of the great palaver with various peeps on there. There's only about 1,000 or so of us on there, but it is a pleasure and an honor to have had these two dudes, Brian,
I'm sure there is
and
Ka-Tet
Jason.
all 1,000.
Yes, the Hail Ka-Tet, and the great Kef which is there.
Can I say it? Can I be the one to say it?
Oh, well, if you know what it is, then please do.
Long days and pleasant nights, my friends.
And may yours be twice as many, sir. So I have been Fuego, y'all have been Rat Status, as these two dudes have been as well. So until the Wheel of Ka comes around once more, hasta luego, San Amigos, constant readers and viewers alike, say thank you. Hopefully we share more of this palaver sooner rather than later. And until then, remember to stay scared, read Stephen King, and listen to Boogeyman.
Yes.